And we're back tonight with more international news. A diplomatic effort to get all sides in Ukraine to end 2 months of civil unrest is underway. Still, major differences remain between President Viktor Yanukovych and his opponents.
The international community has been trying to get Ukraine's government and the opposition to find a solution to the country's 2-month-old political crisis. US Secretary of State John Kerry is expected to meet key Ukrainian opposition figures at a security conference in Munich. It comes only days after the European Union's foreign policy chief met with opposition leaders and President Viktor Yanukovych. The embattled leader is on sick leave, but insists his administration will keep trying to reach out to the opposition. But on the presidential website, Yanukovych also accused his opponents of inflaming the situation. And the opposition is wary of the president's intentions. On the streets of the capital, demonstrators maintain their defiance, demanding the resignation of Yanukovych, reforms and fresh elections. They also expressed outrage at the alleged torture of protest leader Dmytro Bulatov, who went missing last week. He re-emerged outside of Kiev yesterday and says his kidnappers beat him severely, sliced his ear and cut his face. Bulatov is among 3 activists whose disappearances shocked the country, especially after one of them was found dead. Once again, the EU called for an end to the violence.
That's why our first message was for the end of violence and intimidation. I made that point also regarding journalists when I spoke by phone with President Yanukovych. And we are also calling for investigation and stress those responsible need to be held accountable.
The civil unrest is the most serious Ukraine's faced since the Orange Revolution 10 years ago. It started last November after Yanukovych ditched a trade deal with the EU in favour of a bailout from Russia.
Actress Scarlett Johansson has parted with the charity Oxfam after a public rift over one of her endorsements. A multi-million-dollar deal with the company SodaStream has caused a backlash among activists and humanitarian groups because the company's largest factory is in a Jewish settlement in the West Bank. Oxfam said that was incompatible with her role as a goodwill ambassador. She becomes the latest casualty of a widening campaign to boycott these settlements. The dispute won praise for Johansson from the World Jewish Congress, sharp criticism from Palestinian groups, and a big dose of publicity for SodaStream.
And back locally, chicken vendors affected by bird flu may be offered extra compensation. And the health chief has asked for the trade's understanding that a mass cull earlier this week was in society's best interest.
While mainland authorities insist human bird flu cases are only sporadic so far, they've taken no chances by closing down live poultry markets in the hardest hit areas. In Shanghai, authorities are replacing live poultry with frozen products because the main cause of human infections is exposure to live birds. They've promised to set up a food safety tracing system for frozen poultry products in the city within the first half of this year. Zhongnan Shan, a researcher at the Chinese Academy of Engineering, said this will help reduce human H7N9 infections, especially in densely populated cities where the virus can spread easily. The sentiment is echoed in Hong Kong, where some 20,000 birds at the Changsha Wan temporary wholesale poultry market were culled early in the week after samples from the mainland tested positive for the virus. Secretary for Food and Health Ko Wing-man said today he understands the difficulties facing those working in the poultry trade, especially because all this happened right before the Lunar New Year. Responding to the case of a vendor who jumped in the sea yesterday in protest of the cull, Ko said there is a mechanism for compensation in place to protect those whose livelihoods are affected. He said officials will study additional compensation on top of the existing mechanism. The health chief also hopes the public would understand that the cull followed international guidelines and was in the best interest of Hong Kong.
There is growing demand for air medical services in Hong Kong. But instead of hiring full-time medical workers to cater to the needs of the public, the government flying service recruits volunteer doctors and nurses to provide emergency services in the air. Vicky Kung tells us why.
Dr. Wu Wing-kang is a full-time accident and emergency specialist at a public hospital. In his spare time, he hops onto government flying service helicopters to provide urgent medical assistance, mainly to stranded hikers and patients living on remote islands.
I don't view it as a job, actually. It's a sort of volunteer service, and I like volunteer service. And together with my interest in aviation, I like to fly, then that makes this perfect for me.
Wu is one of the 50 volunteer doctors and nurses who received special training to provide air medical services. But they are on duty only on certain days of the week.
If we look at the dispersions of our call-outs, most of the call-outs comes in during the weekend from Friday to Monday and probably during the public holidays. And that is one of the reasons why we roster our doctors and nurses to cover those periods.
In 2012, the Government Flying Service, or GFS, airlifted more than 1,800 patients to hospitals. That's almost 200 more than in 2011. So with the increase in demand, why didn't GFS employ full-time medical workers?
If we draw in full-time staff in the service, then they may not be able to maintain their clinical skills. We believe this is the best way to utilize their expertise and also the most cost-effective way to deploy resources.
Falk also says doctors and nurses mainly supplement first aid services administered by air officers, and helicopters can normally send patients to hospitals for more advanced treatments in less than 15 minutes. This is one of the main aircraft used by the Government Flying Service for medical assignments. The helicopter can take up to a maximum of 6 stretchers, 6 passengers and 2 pilots in one go. Vicky Kong, TVB News.
All right, Tony, over to you for sports.
Yeah, and it's all about the Super Bowl, the build-up to the Super Bowl, as you might have guessed from earlier on in the news. And when it comes to the upcoming Super Bowl, the competition is not just on the field. Advertisers aren't holding back, using big-time actors and celebrities in their must-see TV commercials. Here's Jameson Wong to tell us more.
You doing it, Scarlett.
If there's a theme to this year's Super Bowl ads, it's superstars and their super bodies, or one-time super bodies.
Surprise.
There's also a British invasion of sorts, with actors Ben Kingsley, Tom Hiddleston, and Mark Strong starring in a car commercial. Advertising executives say these days there's no shame in big celebrities taking to the small screen as pitchmen, especially for the Super Bowl.
We're more focused, more precise.
In terms of celebrity, we're seeing, I think, a sort of a bigger and better crop every year. Celebrities, I think, feel less of a less shame in doing commercials these days, especially for the Super Bowl, because people look forward to these things. So it's not like you're tarnishing your celebrity brand image.
And guess who's back for a second Super Sunday, showing off his tats and pretty much everything else?
Yeah, it's a little bit daunting, I can't lie. You know, having it at the Super Bowl, it's no bigger and better than that. So it's like I said, it's kind of daunting because obviously there's so many people watching it, but I'm excited to see what people think.
The world of luxury has been pulled over your eyes.
This year, advertisers will spend $4 million for every 30 seconds of commercial time, and are gambling Beckham and others will deliver as advertised. Jameson Wong, TVB News.
NBA now, and the Golden State Warriors defeated the LA Clippers 111-92 in a matchup of California teams. Stephen Curry scored 22 points for Golden State. Teammate David Lee also had 22 points and added 11 rebounds. The Clippers' Blake Griffin notched a game-high 27 points in the loss. The Warriors have been a streaky team, losing 6 of 10 games after a 10-game winning streak. Well, an update now on racing legend Michael Schumacher. Doctors in France are preparing to bring the former F1 champion out of a medically induced coma. A month ago, Schumacher suffered a severe head injury in a skiing accident in the French Alps. However, it could be a long time before the 45-year-old German regains consciousness. His condition remains stable.
And that's a wrap of the news on this first day of the Lunar New Year. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Happy New Year. 新年快樂.
Happy Lunar New Year, everyone. It was sunny on this New Year's Day. At 5 p.m., the weather was generally fine over southern China. Today's temperatures range from 16.4 to 22.8 degrees, and the current temperature is now standing at 20 degrees Celsius. The relative humidity is 80%. The fire danger warning is yellow, and the fire risk is high. So, Freddie, how's the weather tomorrow?
Oh. Ah.
Mainly fine and dry tomorrow. Temperatures will range from 17 to 23 degrees. It'll remain fine and mild this weekend. Tomorrow morning's air quality health index will be moderate, and the maximum UV index forecast for tomorrow will be about 7. And now to the latest global weather update. Cloudy in Shanghai and Xiamen, sunny in Taipei. Cloudy in Guangzhou and Chengdu, foggy in Macau. Cloudy in Beijing, rain in Seoul, sunny in Tokyo. Foggy in Bangkok, sunny in Ho Chi Minh City, rain in Manila. Bright in Kuala Lumpur, windy in Singapore, rain in Jakarta. Foggy in New Delhi, rain in Karachi, sunny in Mumbai. Cloudy in Cairo, bright in Nairobi. Bright in Brisbane and Sydney, sunny in Melbourne and Auckland. Cloudy in Toronto and New York. Cloudy in Vancouver, sunny in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Bright in London, showers in Paris and Frankfurt and Zurich, rain in Amsterdam. And that's the weather. Good night.